affiliates who will introduce themselves and tell us a bit about their history. How many years in the profession, etc.
Okay, hi guys, Mary Kay. Who knows me, by the way? Who doesn't know me? Thank you. I know I haven't been visiting. We've been very, very busy. I'm trying to hire a couple of inspectors, so once I hire them, you're gonna see me more often. I'm Mary Kay from Advanced Group Property Inspections. 22 years experience, licensed, bonded, insured, members with CREA, does not sell cosmetics, and I do not drive a pink Cadillac. Thank you.
I'm Robert Thurman with California Gold Coast Home Inspections. I recognize some of you out there. Obviously, there's not enough inspectors to go around, so luckily you got two of the best inspectors, probably in the valley or in the surrounding area. Anyways, I have about 35 years of construction experience. I'm also a general contractor, certified with mold technology, certified with green technology, also certified for home and commercial inspections. We also have a new thing coming up to talk about the energy inspections that you'll need to know about, because it's a new CAR requirement for units over 5,000 square foot in the commercial industry. So it's something new to talk about. Anyways, that's kind of my introduction.
Perfect. We'll start with the questions. This is a question for Robert. What is the primary purpose of a home or commercial inspection?
The primary purpose for having an inspection is, number one, is safety, okay? Because everybody needs to be safe regardless of any other thing that's involved. Then the second thing is preventive maintenance. You need to know what's going on, so either you can fix it or it has already been fixed. So,
perfect. Mary Kay, how does one select the proper inspector or qualify an inspector?
Okay, thank you guys. That was a great question. Usually, most of you, before you started knowing more about property inspection qualifications, used to call and ask for price. How much do you charge for 1,200 square feet? Please, before you do that, you need to ask for qualifications. I've told you the last, I think you remember the times that I've been here, that this industry does not need a license. The state does not control this industry. So there's no license required, no insurance required, which is the E&O, errors and omission, just like you as realtors have your E&O insurance. There's no certification required, no, you don't need to even know how to put a nail on the wall and you can become an inspector. So before you hire an inspector, I have brochures, I always leave it for you here. There's questionnaire that I even always prepare for you guys to just ask. First, are you licensed inspectors? They're gonna say, license is not required. Well, are you at least a contractor's license? Do you have a contractor's license? So try to hire people who have at least have contractor's licenses. Second, do they have an E&O insurance? Please ask them to email you or fax you the certificate of insurance. They will tell you they have it, but they won't. 80% don't, because it's very expensive. And so the other day I met an inspector and he said, you know what, I'm doing maybe 5 a week and I have 1,000 deductible, I canceled it. I said, well, whatever happens, it's gonna be only $1,000 anyhow. Sometimes there's problems that we have had experience too, that we had $2,000, $3,000 expense, or we missed something. We're all people, we all make mistakes. So you need to make sure they do have any insurance, because how about if the foundation is sliding, or if it's a major problem, they're gonna say, I don't have insurance, I don't have money. Of course, they always sue everybody, but it's gonna, burden gonna be on the realtors and the seller. And another thing that's important, make sure that they have members of at least one inspector association. CREA, ASHI, NAHI, they all serve the same purpose, if you just at least are one. And all certificates are okay. Certification for me doesn't mean anything. You can go online and pass a test, do like a week of study, and then pass a test, and they'll send you a certificate. You need to find out if the people have built before. That's why a lot of times, a lot of companies' logos are, you cannot inspect a house if you haven't built one. So make sure these people are qualified to build properties so they can inspect your homes. Thank you.
Robert, should an inspector be hired prior to selling a home, or should it be done during the transaction?
That's a good question. It's good both ways. It's good for the buyer to be involved, and it's also good for the seller to be involved. The reason why I thought it'd be better to have the seller to be involved, because immediately they're going to know what things need to be corrected, and avoid the waiting time when you get to closing escrow. And they go, well, you got 7 days to fix all your deals. Okay, fine, well, let's do it. But wouldn't you rather just go, hey, look, at all those things have been corrected already? So yes, the answer to the question would be yes. It'd be better to have a home inspection prior to the sale. So yes.
Mary Kay, would you agree?
No, I don't agree. I don't agree at all. Because when you do a property inspection on a listing for the seller, if the seller decides not to correct anything, or if he just wants to do a little bit of jobs, unless there's a foundation or roof problem and he doesn't fix it, you guys all know that the reports have to be disclosed. You cannot keep it, it's against the ethics. So you give this report to the buyer. The buyer does not have the inspector there. Why do we always care about it? Are you broker friendly? Does he know how to present problems? Why do we care about those questions? Because we want this person to make sure to be able to present the problems. There's a foundation problem. You read it, now the buyer is gonna just get so scared that, what is this? But if the inspector is there, they will explain, okay? One, that. Second, you need to disclose this report to anybody that you come across when you're selling this property. So this report that has a lot of illness in it is gonna go to everybody, and the buyer can look at it and say, I don't want it. We go inspect and we go over everything, and they still say, oh my God, you guys found so many problems, you didn't know how to present it, and my buyer didn't buy it. And if they have this report with them, you guys, unless, I agree with one thing, that unless the seller fixes everything. The seller does this inspection, corrects everything, comes back, but most probably 90% the seller does not correct everything. They mostly do it to disclose it. They say, oh, I want to have it. There was a newspaper ad years ago when real estate was not doing good, and one of our competitors put a big ad in LA Times and said, do listing inspections, do listing inspections. Do you know how many losses there were after that with realtors? That realtors did not know if it was a good one or no, because the listing agent gave the inspection report, the buyer didn't do inspection, thinking, oh, I have this report, and that inspector was not as qualified, there was problems or no problems. Have your buyers do their own inspection. But if you have a report in your hand, please give it to the person who's purchasing it. Because if they find out that you have it, you can get sued. That's against the ethics, and it's against real estate law, okay? So for me, I wouldn't want to. If I want to, I can make a lot of inspections like that, but I don't want the seller's agent have a report in their hand that now they have to explain to the buyer, and you're not supposed to explain anything, you're not inspectors. So I would say no.
Okay, thank you. Are there cities, Robert, are there certain cities or areas where home inspections are mandatory?
Home inspections are an option. You can waive your right if you don't want to have the home inspection, but when you waive the right, you also waive the opportunity to come back and fix things. So it's always important, and even though it's not technically something you have to do, it's not something you have to do. Okay? It's something you should do as a preventive. So if you're not a contractor, if you don't understand construction, now some of you real estate agents are very, very up to date on construction. Even some of you are contractors out there. So those people, I would say that's a little bit different. But as far as the rules go, it's always easier to do what's the best and the easiest. And the easiest is let someone who's a professional do the job.
Thank you. What have you seen, and this is a question for both of you, what have you seen in terms of green technology? Are there any changes or new requirements affecting the inspection procedure as a result of the green technology?
No, I don't think it affected anything about the inspection, because the inspection is something like you go to the doctors. I always tell you guys, the property has to be checked if any problems are there. So with the green technology, it's just, if you choose to put the solar, if you want to put anything that you want to save the environment, you can, and we can come and check that. But physical inspection, usually, to me, it doesn't affect the procedure or what we do or how we do it. We're still not gonna crawl under the house, we're still gonna go to the attic, we're still gonna go on top of a roof. We're still gonna do a thorough inspection to see if the property has any major issues, foundation or otherwise. Thank you.
It's just one more thing to check.
Exactly.
Perfect. What best inspection practices should be employed so that realtors, buyers, sellers stay out of court?
Okay, you guys, I know we both would agree, the best way to stay out of court is to qualify your inspector, not just go by price. And that's why we're always on the phone. 3 of my phone desk always tell you guys, they first give you qualification. And when they ask for a price, by the way, they're all trained to start qualification. Okay, I'll give you the price and I'll generate a price the minute I get the address and all that, but let me give you the qualifications. Make sure they have E&O insurance. Make sure they've built before. Make sure they've done inspections over 5 years. And the reason we say over 5 years is because just like you guys, when you got your real estate license, did you know how to write a contract? You just went to the broker, you showed it to them, you made mistakes, you didn't know what contingency was. You didn't know how many days. Oh my God, do I start my contingency on the inspection when I get the offer accepted or when I open escrow? So at least they've made their mistakes. And please ask them and Google them, look for them. When you Google Mary Kay, I Googled myself the other day. There's 4 pages of me. San Gabriel Association and this and Mary, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest and Instagram and inspection and everything. And you can read about me. So you guys need to do homework, find out how long. If they say yes, just go ask CREA. If they're members with California Real Estate Inspectors Association, ask them, how long have they been members? Okay? You can always call. Better Business Bureau doesn't do a lot because as long as we have a complaint there, but you have to ask if they're licensed, bonded, insured. They have a license, contractor's license, ask them for the number. It doesn't have to be active because they're not building, but if they don't have a contractor's license, at least they've done construction, okay? They've worked on construction. And that's and please be at the side. If you want to stay out of court, another thing, please be at the side. The other day, his realtor called me and says, do you have a keypad? And I said, why? She goes, because nobody can go there. Can you have the inspector go alone? We don't. Because if anything breaks, anything happens, we're the last ones who are there, first ones who are there. And we're always blamed anyhow. And plus, don't you want to know what the problems are? Have the seller there, have the buyer there. Yeah, sellers don't like it very much because once we find issues, they just don't think they have issues. Because none of us think our houses have problems. We think we have the best house in the world, maybe, right? Well, we don't go under the house, on top of the attic, until there is a leak. And the problem starts slowly. I'm not a contractor, but I learned this because I have a contractor husband, and he drives me crazy with all the leak and flowers. Don't plant flowers under at the foundation because we can get mold. So just the best advice, please, you have to do your homework when you're hiring an inspector. There's a lot of lawsuits. The West Side is lawsuit crazy. They sue for everything. And that's why I have double, triple insurance, because I don't know. I mean, the screen is cut or broken, or if water is leaking and they think it's not running as proper, we get phone calls. So you need to make sure that you qualify your inspector, do homework, ask them questions. You can already tell on the phone if they're lying. If somebody asks me, do you have insurance, and I don't have it, I was like, hey, I have it. But if I say, yeah, no problem, let me email it to you while I'm talking to you. That's the best. And please be at the side, listen to what the inspector is saying. Do not get involved, don't answer questions. Don't say you know. Even if you are a builder, don't get involved. Let the inspector tell you what they found so you can give them liability. Because when you're an agent and your buyer is sitting there and the inspector is giving findings and you tell them, no, the seller said everything is new. No, the seller remodeled everything. Don't say anything like that. You don't know. These people are under the house, inside the attic. They're seeing, they have photos. That doesn't mean they're lying. But be there so you can hear it, and please do not at all translate any findings. When you see anything, or if let's say the inspector was there and told you a certain item needs attention, or it's not that major, the buyer forgets about it and says, what do you think, Susan? Did he say this is a big problem? Just because you want to save your deal, don't jump in and say, no, he said, no, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm not an inspector. I was there because I'm supposed to be there, and to be there for you, let's give them a call. Give the liability to the inspectors, okay? Don't ever think something is okay. You don't know. That's the best way to stay out of court. Never volunteer to give any information about a property inspection. Thank you.
The best way to avoid court is not to go there. So, first of all, I put it in my mind when I go to the job, I'm not thinking about how we're going to end up there, even though in the back of my mind over here, it says, be careful. Okay? Why do you want to be careful? Because you could step through the roof and fall through the ceiling. Not a fun one, okay? So what we have to do is be very careful. And so by allowing ourselves to hire the right people, now it just happened to be two of your best affiliates are in the front of the classroom today, so you do have the best inspectors. So as far as avoiding a lawsuit, you found them, okay? Just contact us for your next inspections. We'll make sure that that doesn't happen, okay? We want to avoid that at all costs, okay? So now that we covered that, you've hired the right person, so that takes care of the first issue, okay? The second issue is on the inspections. The responsibility after our inspection is to follow the recommendations. We're only going to make recommendations that we believe are going to lead to safe environments for you. Other recommendations are optional, okay? They will also be listed as optional. Like, purchasing a whole house water filter or something like that, or air filtration will be an option. That's something you don't have to do, just the recommended things. And that will help avoid being in that situation.
Perfect. And I'm going to end with this question for both of you, because we want to open it up for some question and answers. What is the hardest part of your job?
Realtors. The hardest part of our job is also, of course, complaints. Every time the phone rings and every time Ruben or Hank comes to me and says, do you have a minute? I have somebody on the phone. I'm just saying, God, please don't tell me we missed something. The hardest job is to make sure you have the best inspector, one of the best inspectors. We all make mistakes, and that you stay out of court. And you just make sure that you don't make mistakes, you don't miss anything, and you don't have a realtor who's just screaming and yelling at you, even if it's not your fault. So when you have a problem with any inspector, either me or another affiliate, when you're nice and you tell us the problem, believe me, we help you. But when you're screaming and yelling, I still help because I learned that's the only way I'm going to get your business. I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to say, okay, Nancy, what can I do to make you feel better? And you guys all calm down. Okay, so she's willing to do something. So if you want to ask us for something, tell us what happened. We'll be there. There's no problem. Don't be scared. Especially with affiliates like us here. That's why I have insurance. That's why I have all this experience. And that's why we're here for 22 years. Of course we had problems. Of course we had people yelling. And of course we always took care of it. So let us know, and that's the best one fear is a realtor screaming, yelling, or that's why we remind you the day before about your inspection. We email you, we call you, just to remind you. And then if they go there and they forget to call us for it's canceled, instead of us getting upset, they scream at us that I called you, we canceled the inspection. So two things, one is we always want to make sure that we didn't miss anything. And second is that we always want to be loved. And I always be loved by you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I feel like I'm on America's Got Talent. Hey, you guys are doing a great job out there. What was the question again?
What is the hardest part of your job?
Hardest part is on a really hot day to want to go in the attic. Yeah. Going under the house is actually not bad because you don't know how long I've been under there, but I took a little nap. Just kidding. Took a look around underneath. And most of the houses, I have to say, have been just immaculate. Most of the houses just need a little paint, putty, couple of carbon monoxide and smoke detectors and anti-siphon valves and earthquake straps and emergency gas meter shutoffs. Other than that, it's been really easy.
Do we have any, I thought that was really nice. Do we have any questions for the gentleman? Would you mind standing over behind the microphone so that we could, or if you want, I can hear you and I can repeat it if you like, whichever is most convenient.
For inspector to be admitted to be inspector organization, what qualifications you have to have?
Are you talking about Priya, Ashiyahi, the
Yes.
associate? You just have to sign up with them. There's a fee that you pay. You don't need to have any qualification. You go to their classes, you go to their seminars, you go to their educational meetings, and then you have to complete 40 hours of continuing education every year with them. But you don't have to be a contractor or, and have no qualifications. Anybody can be a member of Priya.
You don't have to have insurance either?
No, no. They don't ask you if you have an insurance or not.
This is not really a question also, but it's just on a clarification, like Mary Kay say, and don't doing termite inspection or inspection on the listing, because they become evidence, especially if you have a property which is rented, and the tenant doesn't want to move out to close escrow. I have a case right now, it's over 6 months, and apparently the seller asked for a termite inspection and inspection during the, at the time of the sale. Now the tenant doesn't want to move out, and the lawyer asked for a copy of the termite and a copy of the inspection report, and now they use against the seller in the court of law, and I never heard of such a thing in my life, but asking for an eviction with a jury duty. Now, you take it from there. The tenant doesn't have money, have a free lawyer, but the owner have a house, you have to pay for the lawyer to select the jury or the seller, and the way they sell, 6 months of free rent, and the $3,000 to the seller, to the tenant, and the being not on the rent control. It's a case right now.
Thank you. Yes.
Is that my turn?
Yes, thank you.
I have a couple of questions for both of you. On a typical home inspection, what are the items that you normally inspect? And the second question is, on your inspection, do you provide any guarantee?
What we check, it's a thorough inspection, and foundation, plumbing. We check foundation for structural problems. We also want to see if it's bolted for earthquake purposes. If it's not, and if it should, we advise. Plumbing, we tell you if it's galvanized, if it's copper, if it's rusted, and take pictures. We go to the attic. We obviously the air conditioning ducting is in the attic. Asbestos are all, mostly we see it around the ducting, and so we tell you about asbestos. We don't look for asbestos, we don't look for mold, but if we see it, which is all moisture, for mold and asbestos are visual, you can see, we will mention it in the report. So it's foundation, roof, attic, it's walls, cracks, if there's cosmetic or earthquake related, it's we bring a list of recalled heaters. We'll tell you if the heaters are recalled. And do you guys know what recalled heater mean and why do we have recalled heaters? That's a good subject to talk about, where this is why we have carbon monoxide smoke detectors. One, because the fireplaces where they have these gas pipes, with all the earthquakes that we get, and we think we don't have it, but we always have little shakes, they crack. And when the gas comes out, that's where the carbon monoxide starts, filling. I don't know very much about how much it fills and how the smoke detectors. I was at a seminar where the city officials who actually passed this law were there, and they were saying that well, I said, well, how do we know how many beeps and all that? They were still investigating. But the 3 beeps, I guess the smoke detector is carbon monoxide, 2 beep beep is the fire. I mean, we're still figuring out, but that's why the carbon monoxide smoke detectors came out. So you need to make sure that your inspectors have a list of recalled heaters. You can also find them online, all the models that have recalled heaters. I mean, it's windows, cracks, doors, shower, water pressure, electrical, air conditioning, doors closing properly or not. Believe me, sometimes if we don't say the door was not closing properly, we get a phone call. I am not being able to close the door properly, and this is bothering me. You know, I have to put a chair behind it, so it's very thorough. Driveway cracks. The best way, when you see a tree in front of a home, you guys, my husband makes me cut all the trees, which I love them, but the big trees, the roots go under the house, and they lift the home. And when you see the driveway or the sidewalk, city sidewalk, you see out there, sometimes we just say, what is this? Why aren't they fixing it? And if you turn around, you'll see a tree right next to it. So, so I forgot the question for a second.
I just pass it over to Robert. I want to know what the second question was.
So did I answer it, right? Because I'm so passionate about this business.
Yes.
I've never inspected a home. But I love this. I've been there. I've seen it. I don't even recognize my husband when he's under the house. He comes out of the house. He has this big thing on his face. One time I got scared. I didn't know what the hell was happening. It was my first time. But that's why I am so passionate.
May I repeat the question?
Robert will help. Yes.
Robert will help you.
In addition to, okay, all the things that we do from A to Z. Now, you did say thorough inspection. And what's the second part?
No, the question was, in a typical home inspection, what are the items that you normally
Right.
inspect? But you answered most of them. So the second question, probably for on you right now, is do you provide any type of guarantee for your inspection?
Guarantee. I guarantee I'll be there early. And I'm not staying a little bit late. Okay, what else? Any other guarantees?
Then he talks about, I
She's got a guarantee.
No, I do not have a guarantee, and I want to protect both of us. We're not home protection plans. We don't have guarantee, but there is a program with our the home gauge we use, the program for writing the reports. It does have a way of us giving you 3 months of home warranty. The buyer pays $18 more, and the first 3 months after the day of the inspection, 3 months after, for that 3 months, we can come back and say if something we missed, we need to fix it. But the inspection is done by the time you close your escrow, a month and a half too, especially if you're getting a loan. So it doesn't, but if we make a mistake, that's why we have insurance. That's why our guarantee is, meaning that, hey, if I make a mistake, I'm gonna fix it. If it's my mistake, we'll go back, we'll check it. If the report doesn't state, you guys have scope of inspection when you sign on the side, the buyer's sign. That's where it says what we do, what we don't guarantee, what is the scope of this inspection. It's visual, we don't poke anything, we don't dismantle anything.
You don't fall through the roof.
Yeah, we don't fall from the roof. And believe me, that's my nightmare. I always pray God for all my inspectors to be safe because it's hard.
It is.
You can fall out from the roof. And that's why when people ask me for discounts, when it's 110 degrees out there, I tell them, let me pay you that money. Go under the attic, under the foundation just for 5 minutes and come out and tell me if it was worth it or not. So it's to answer no, we don't give you guarantee. But you need to find an inspector who knows what the hell they're doing.
I want to thank you for the long answer to the no question.
And we want to thank you for your.
Because he has a guarantee, that's why.
Oh, we have another question. Good. We'll make this the last question.
Okay. We all care about how you present the problems. That's really a lot of people, both buyers and sellers, all pay attention on those. And I noticed that language are very how to say that?
Important.
Yeah, very important. So as a realtor, no matter you present a buyer or seller, how can we identify the language? Like recommendation, I know Robert mentioned something about that. How do we pay attention on those words?
So
Some
are you
of
saying,
options
are there
and some-
any key terms that realtors should look out for that are written in the inspections? Is that what you're?
Right.
Basically asking.
Okay. My reports are probably different than her reports, and she can tell you those, but on my reports, to be really clear, the very beginning, I put my name, okay? So you see who it was. Right below that is who it's to, okay? And then right below that, you're gonna wanna know what all the stuff was you need to do, okay? It's all gonna be listed from 1 to 10, okay? Right there, 13, whatever it is. So it's gonna be very specific. And then the rest of it's going to be the pictures with arrows. So you're going to be able to follow everything really easy. The green arrows are okay. The red arrows, oh, we got to fix that. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Is that answers your questions? But as far as the terminologies, I try to make it layman's terms, okay? I might use some words in the report, like type 5, typical, housing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, when I say that, that's not really addressing you. That's just saying that's what it is. But when the part that I talk to you or I talk to your client, it's all in layman's terms, okay? Like smoke detectors, we all know what that is, okay? Emergency gas meter shut off. It's all really easy to understand, so you should have no problem. I'm sure
Can I ask Robert, along those lines, when it is listed or on your report when you list it, and I don't want to get into debate as to who has what report, but do you list it in terms of most urgent or most visible, or is it just?
It's a recommendation and optional. It'll be both right in the same spot, so it's for the best interest.
So it's
what-
labeled.
What's the difference between the recommendations and
Yeah, the option? Yeah, it'll be listed. Options are the things like I spoke earlier, things that don't necessarily have to be done at all. But if you had a water filtration system in your home, you'd feel better. Okay, it's just an option. Now, as far as the smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, those are not an option. Those you have to do, okay? And those will be listed as such, recommended. Okay.
so the recommendation equals to repairs?
Yes. And then on the breakdown, when you go through the pictures, the arrows, it'll also be listed again on those subsections with the pictures.
Okay, me too? All right, I want to give the flower to Robert this time anyway. I think he answered the question, but I think another thing that you were wondering about, how do we present a problem? You were saying, how do we find somebody who's not alarmist and they can explain the problem and we know verbally right there if it's urgent or no. Again, qualify your inspector. If somebody has built a home, they'll know how to present the problem. If somebody who has never built a home and decide to become an inspector because his father asked him to paint the house twice a year, he doesn't know. That's why they're scared. They don't know. Sometimes they come in with, I see reports that are like 10, 12 page, no pictures, check mark, good, fair, this. Realtor, be aware, those are all lawsuits. You need to have inspectors who go there thoroughly, inspect everything. And to my luck, maybe, we're finding properties that have a lot of problems. It's not only smoke detector and water heater. In Los Angeles, most of the homes are old, so there's going to be problems. But you need to know how to present the problem. Oh, there's a foundation problem. It's common or it's not common. This is how you can fix it. Don't do inspections with people who give you price. If the inspector tells you, this will cost you $5,000, this will cost you $2,000, this would cost you $3,000. I'm talking from experience. We did this years ago when we just started. Because we're contractors, we had a roof issue. We said, oh, it'll be $1,200. The buyer went, closed escrow, brought his roofer. Everybody has different prices. It's not like it's a communist country that there's one price for everything, like Russia, where I lived for a while. So there's different prices. So if I bring somebody and say, oh, it's $2,000, so they called me and asked me for $800. They said if I knew, I would have negotiated. If I knew, maybe the realtor brought you guys because they wanted me to buy the home. So you can get in trouble too, because the buyer might think that you brought this inspector and gave us these prices because they wanted us to go through with the deal because they didn't give us the fair price. And we're the contractors, but you guys were not building. Price changes every day. So bring a person. That's why when we say recommend, when it says there is a little issue, recommend to see a specialist. That means that there is an issue, but it can be small, it can be big, it cannot be. Maybe you don't have to fix it right away. Those, please, do not ignore. Don't ignore the fact that says recommend to see a specialist. Because most of the times there is a problem. Yes, some inspectors give you the report on the spot. They're in a hurry. They just write, recommend to see specialist, recommend to see specialist. Because if that report goes to court, and if the judge sees that it says recommend with the see specialist, and if the buyer says, oh, I have such a big problem, the foundation or roof, and the judge sees it says recommend to see a roofer, a specialist. Says if they ask them, did you see the roofer? Did you bring that report with you? No, I didn't do that. Well, why are you blaming the inspector? He asked you to go check with the specialist. So when you see that and the buyer asks you, if you want to stay out of court enough for another reason, do I want to bring this specialist? So I don't know. Call and ask the inspector. And make sure if you're not going to bring them, get it in writing. The buyer, you should send them an email and say, Mary Kay, as per discussion, you mentioned that you don't want to do any further inspections. If you are going to do it, you have this many days, you can call a specialist and CC it to you and keep it in your file. Because after close of escrow, they will tell you they don't remember when they asked you if I should go with the specialist, and if you said yes. They have temporary amnesia. Everything that you do, you write it, you email it, okay? Thank you.
Just one last note. I was thinking something else when you mentioned that. Now I'm thinking at the inspection, we're talking with the client and the buyer and seller there or whomever, and we're talking. The whole idea is to help the sale go through. Everybody should be calm and relaxed and excited about the new move, okay? I've already congratulated the people who are moving in, okay? They're moving in the house because they love this house. You spent all this time with them. I realize a lot of hours have been put into this way before we came on site. So we're looking forward to help you close this deal, and that's what it's all about, okay? Sure, there's gonna be repairs. Every house has repairs. We already know that. We're gonna try to just get it taken care of and move on, get it moved in, and let's get this thing over with, okay?
Good. Well, would you help me show